LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And hello, everybody. Mitchell Levy here, global credibility expert, and we are live on Clubhouse. That's where the sound comes from, and then video we're using StreamYard, and we're going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And hello, everybody, and Jorge, hello, nice to see you.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. This 4th of July weekend.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's so funny. As an entrepreneur, I don't think I knew it was 4th of July until about sometime this week when somebody says, "What are you doing for the weekend?" And I'm like, and it wasn't somebody who normally asked me about the weekend. I go, and I look at the date and I go, "Oh, right, it's 4th of July." Dr. Laura, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm happy to be here. I can't come on live this morning. I'm going to be on LinkedIn kind of feeding the audience and inviting folks in there that way. There's too much going on.
Oh,
serve the room in so many ways.
No problem. Awesome. Well, nice to see you. Let me say hello to Joe, and then we'll let the speakers sort of introduce themselves, and out of that will come, I'm sure, one really cool question. Hey, Joe, Mr. Always Good. Are you how are you doing?
Man, I'm always good. Thanks for asking.
All right. How about something in addition to being always good? I always say that when I see you.
I know every time. Well, something in addition would be that, man, it's another absolutely beautiful day. I woke up, I'm happy, and I'm ready to make this day great.
Yeah. Hey, could you join us on video, or are you not set for that?
I'm not set for that.
All right. Then absolutely not a problem, by the way. And I will hey, since you have the mic, why don't you say hello? What I want to do is I've got one other person who I want to see if we can get going on StreamYard. And that's Ron Rohrman. And why don't you introduce yourself and come up with, when you're doing that, talk about for you, what is that core value or the set of values you live by?
Oh, well, thank you for that, Mitchell. And also, obviously, I'm Joe, Mr. Always Good Mogazel, and that is a nickname that was given to me because my standard response is that I'm always good. There's a lot that goes behind that, and I can talk about that at a different time. But if you're talking about core values, what is it that I live by? It's to help as many people as I can. I live by the fact that being honorable is important, doing the right thing even if nobody would know that you did the wrong, and that I just really have a passion in this planet to help, like I said, as many people as I can. So other than that, my core values are, like I said, being honorable and integrous, and being a good human being trying to help this planet.
That makes me so warm. just to listen to that, it's so cool. And Joe, yeah, the stuff you do and who you are is pretty amazing. Hey, do you have a credibility question that we should get to after Jorge and Dr. Laura introduce themselves, and me as well?
Let's hear some.
Oh, I was just curious, Joe, if you had a credibility question, or if not, think about one and ask it sometime while we're talking.
You got it.
All right.
I'll think about it.
Awesome. Jorge, do you want to say hi? And you know what? I'd love to hear your core values as well.
Oh, that's quite interesting, and it's a good question. And it's every time that you ask for your questions, your favorite questions, make us think if we need to keep in the same answers than usual, or we should create some ones. And in that sense, my core values is really how to enjoy life, making the things that I like it, doing in a right way. I am very much into the Joe mindset. We need to make this work better. And in some sense, I am looking how to focus in living in the knowledge society. Then every day we learn more and more, and we appreciate less and less the knowledge.
I like that. And Adrian is in the room. Hello, Adrian. Glad you could make it.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hey, I also listen. It's just Jorge and I's pretty face on the video, and happy to have you join us there too. And those who are here, feel free if you want to be able to speak. I'd love to hear from you. Ron Werman, I'm in the house. Oh, good, Ron. Let me make you. Let's see. There you are. Sorry, buddy. Let me invite you to speak. Thank you. I just saw that. Adrian, let me also make you moderator so you can see things along those lines. Arthur Keller's here. Arthur, if you want to be able to invite a speaker, let us know as well. And the so on for those who are looking for this on LinkedIn, what you can do is go to just go to my LinkedIn, which is linkedin.com/in/Mitchell Levy, and then look for posts, and you can see that live. And we actually have a good number of people. And what we'll try to do is also watch the questions that come in on LinkedIn, so that we can respond. So a lot of times we respond. Dr. Laura, you are actually there, so you can. I can put that link. Oh, for StreamYard. Okay, yes. I put the StreamYard link. Sorry for guys, but the StreamYard link, I actually put in the chat on StreamYard so you can share it with those people who need it elsewhere. So for me, what I want to be able to say is the values I live is, I think I lived these values my whole life. And I'm going to say with a caveat, I wasn't sure exactly what they entirely were. The values that I live now are the 10 values that are associated with credibility. And now when I talk to people, I see it. They've got a hologram. It's the quality in which people are trusted, known, and liked. And the importance here of this conversation is creating a safe place, creating a environment, creating a place where we can just sit back and relax and be ourselves. And I know we're being recorded in a number of different locations, so don't say anything that you're uncomfortable with. On the other hand, if there's something that is a burning question, a burning issue, and I have more than enough that I'll bring up in a moment. But the cool part is Ron Werman is on Clubhouse. Do you want to unmute yourself on Clubhouse, Ron? And how are you?
Hello, Mitchell. I'm doing fantastic.
Nice. You're about as close to the Dos Equis man that I've ever seen.
Oh, really? Is my Dos Equis picture up?
Well, you're not live on StreamYard. I see you on StreamYard, but the video's not turned on. So if you
so you want me to actually show my disheveled Saturday morning self?
If you're open with your disheveled Saturday morning self being live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, then the answer is yes. I will also bring you live. Ooh, okay. I'm going to add you to the stream. So now it's 3 guys, by the way, women. For those who want to be on video, we need a little bit of women to help join us on this. But Ron, nice to see you. Meet Jorge and also those that are in the room. Nice to see you, buddy.
Hello, people. I see 3 faces right now. Mitchell, Jorge, and me. Is that right?
That's correct. So what's really interesting about StreamYard is that I could have a maximum up to 10. So at a point in time when we've got 20 people on StreamYard, what I'll end up doing is have to bring people in, ask questions, and bring them out. On the interesting part about Clubhouse, we've got 6 speakers on Clubhouse, and I'll try to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. And then if what happens is if you're on Clubhouse, feel free to put in the notes that you're interested in speaking, and either Dr. Laura or Adrian will promote you to speaker. Anyhow, so I'm really glad you're here, and I want to bring up for everyone. I want to bring up an interesting point. And oh, Ron, one of the things that's interesting for me is a good best practice when you're not speaking is to put your mic on Clubhouse on mute. I just because occasionally stuff happens, like we sneeze.
So you want me to mute?
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Laura, you unmuted for a second. What's happening?
Yeah, I just want to. I'm going. I just want to make sure that I know people want to come on the stage, and I know I'm not on StreamYard and I'm on the video. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm here as well. And just for maintaining the integrity of the room, it's just please have some content listed in your profile, a profile picture, and also an alternative social platform so we can validate that you're not a bot or a troll. Thanks so much. This is Dr. Laura.
You're welcome, and thank you. Yeah, it's really a cool thing. I love the opportunity for us to come on live, and part of being credible. This is so interesting because my wife would prefer not to be on social at all, right? It's just one of those things, and because of one of the jobs that she has, her boss required her to be on social. And one of the real benefits is the stuff that you can do with family and friends, and that's the real benefit. But in terms of the world seeing her, she's not very interested. Now, if you're in business, particularly if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in any business whatsoever, the ability to hide, the ability to be transparent, the ability for people not to see you and know your buying and behavior patterns, that's a great dream, but that dream is really mostly gone. And what happens is, if I want to hire you, I'm gonna Google you. I'm gonna search on you. I'm gonna see who you are ahead of time. I'm gonna see how you've responded, how you've grown up life. The interesting part is my wife did a phenomenal job with my son, who's 24, that said, hey, don't post stuff online you don't want to see later in life. So if you go to his Facebook page, the only stuff you see on his Facebook page are pictures that dad posted. Right. And typically it's times when we were on trips or travel and I got permission. Right. So the thing that Dr. Laura just said is, listen, if you look like and seem like a very credible person, credible doesn't mean that you're a thought leader and you're running around the world on multiple stages. Credible is simply that you as a human show up as you, and you're not coming on and trolling or doing anything that trying to sell. This is not a place to sell product or sell services, and so what happens is we need to see you, right? So if you don't have a picture on Clubhouse, it's hard for us to say yes. If you don't have another social media platform, and so we're real interested in hearing you speak, hearing your thoughts. And Adrian, could you talk about what have you seen, both good and bad on Clubhouse, like some of the Clubhouse best practices that people use?
So thank you for asking. Hello, everyone, and hello, Dr. Laura. It's lovely to share the stage with you. And thank you, Mitchell. So to me, best practices is actually don't raise your hand until you really know what the room is about. And then when you do go on stage, make sure that you're muted. Don't unmute unless you've been asked. Find out. For me, I like to find out if the room is like pop.
I've done this. I've done this before. Clubhouse. So just I'll just share it for those that are watching us streaming.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That was weird. I ended up up in another room.
Andrew, you did what I've done. I was going to take the time to show people this is how you guys who are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube are actually getting sound. It's coming from my iPad. And I've done this before because there's so many buttons to push. You remember, it was probably about 2 weeks back. I was in the middle of talking, and then I disappeared, and I just jumped out of Clubhouse or the room. It was my room. I jumped out, and then I couldn't figure out how to get back in. So you got back, Adrian. You got back in so much quicker. So let me ask you to rejoin the stage. Uh-oh. Adrian, you still there?
I am, Mitchell. I think, you know what, we're having some storms in Daytona Beach. I'm actually on the ocean right now, so it may be affecting. How do I sound right now?
Gotcha. Well, you were in the middle.
Matrix.
Yeah, you were in the middle of best practices. And I love that because some of those I hadn't heard before. So thank you.
So one of the things, though, when I first got on Clubhouse, the first thing I did was actually make sure I had a profile that matched who I was and that people would want to invite me on their stage. And so, you know, you don't have to hook up to both Twitter or Instagram. And a lot of people don't even have those accounts. If you have LinkedIn, there's got to be another way to show your credibility, because I'm on every platform, including Snapchat, but I do understand those that are not. And so I respect those that are not doing that. So I don't know, Dr. Laura. I feel like there's got to be another way to look at the credibility, maybe their website that they have there. And I hope that LinkedIn Clubhouse starts to add other ways, because not everyone wants to be on Instagram and Twitter. In the meantime, make sure that you know what that room is about before you go in, and if you're invited, or don't be afraid to ask if the conversation is matching the title still. So that's just a few. Of course, I teach etiquette, so always be polite and thankful. And you know what? What people have gotten, what they've started to not do on Clubhouse is introduce themselves. So, again, I'm going to say I'm Adrian Barker. I'm actually in Daytona Beach, Florida, where I live, and I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. The introduction. And I'm going to say, Dr. Laura, thank you so much for sharing and responding to comments and questions on LinkedIn. I'm going to say, hey, welcome for those who are chatted. America's Supermom, Lachelle Atkins, thanks for joining us on LinkedIn. Laura Cobb, Michael Duro, appreciate that. Okay, there's a question that I read from Laura. The question is, how do you validate that doing is working to build a business, yet others are saying it's a hobby because the revenue isn't coming? Does that suggest less credibility? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I love that question. I'll process that. So Ron, Jorge, and anyone else in the room. So the question is, if what you're doing is something that you love, but it's not generating the revenue yet, how do you tell other people that you're credible?
Well, that's a good challenge. And usually here in the Silicon Valley, we live forever. Is when you start a new idea, usually it do not create any income, and you need to have some time to build the interest of the subject. And when you start building that, we call it the product market fit. How I find what my audience wants from the things that I have in mind, and that's a typical non-revenue stage. That is when you're doing. Now, after a while, when you are working and you identify that is not going to generate some revenue, you have two choices. One is to keep it that as a philanthropical or experimental point of view, or shut down. That is, and you learn from there, or you do a pivot and you start looking for a new idea. And let me tell you, we face that kind of challenge in the content generation. Clubhouse looks like it's a place that everybody can sit down and talk about with people, and is not a very clear revenue generation. And usually that revenue generation happens in the back end. And that backend is where the things start happening. And the point is how you tell the people we want to be sharing ideas. And after we share it, we met and we start talking. And when you talk with the people that has common interest, you start to identify that they are looking for the service you provide, or they can provide you the service they do. And that is a pairing kind of a stage where you are trying to get together with people, and it is not going to be a revenue generator directly, but it could be a tremendous revenue generator in the backend.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that's an interesting. That's a really interesting point of view from a Silicon Valley perspective, and I can certainly relate to it. Ron, you have a thought on this one?
Well, your poor Clubhouse members are probably going to be taken aback by this next statement, but I'd like to go to first causes. So our culture is fairly new. When we were nomadic people, all we were concerned about is I must feed myself, I must protect myself, I must shelter, I must clothe myself. We had some very basic needs. So the first thing we need to do is fill those needs. And then we have the unusual opportunity in this time and age that then do things like I want to sing, I want to write, or as I call business owners, I want to create, I want to build, I want to scale, right? So my first quick answer to that question is, what are you doing with this thing you call a business? Are you singing or are you feeding? And it's a very important question, I believe, because if I have the opportunity to start a business that allows me to sing and eat at the same time, boy, that's an unusual opportunity. Most people in the world don't have that opportunity. They're just trying to feed and eat and shelter and protect. So I think my first question back, I always respond with a question. Unfortunately, I'm very glib, but I always respond back to the question, where are you contextually in this business? So there you go. That's my answer.
Ron, it was funny as I'm hearing you speak, I'm thinking of Lucas Root, and I go, Lucas, you got to hear this response, and then there he was, Lucas. I'm glad you're here.
I heard the response.
Now, did you get the question?
I did not get the question.
So let me try the question. So, are you still considered credible if you're doing what you love doing, i.e., servant leadership, and you're doing that, but you're not generating the revenue yet that you need to? Are you still considered credible?
That does give some context around Ron's otherwise beautiful answer.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
And can I put you on the spot? And why don't you introduce yourself and respond to that one?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. For those of you who already know me, good to see you again, Dr. Laura, Jorge, Adrian. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Lucas Root. Clients who typically find me are brands who don't execute. Yeah, you can absolutely be credible without revenue. One of your favorite examples, Mitchell, of people who are credible without revenue are children.
Yes, indeed. The most credible example.
Go ahead, Dr. Laura. Yeah, well, so, and I love the example of children as credible without revenue, and they're not the only example. But even as adults, there are lots of things that I do in the world right now that don't bring me revenue. I do them with intent and love. It is servant leadership. I would like to find a way to monetize them at some point, but it's really not the primary goal today for me in those activities. And I don't think that makes me not credible. Additionally, what about hobbies? Am I not credible when I go up and sing in karaoke? Am I not credible when I'm playing soccer with a bunch of friends? And those don't bring me revenue either. And in fact, I don't see any pathway for those becoming revenue generating.
Certainly my singing would be the same. Unless it was the Funniest Hits album or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that revenue and credibility are not linked, are not even correlated, and shouldn't be.
I know, but I hear the nature and the intent of the question, right? And I was debating. I have a 2x2 that I often use, and I was debating showing it. I might show it, and I'll take a stab at. I'm going to try something new. I haven't done this before, and I'll take it. I know. I'll take a stab at showing the 2x2, and then sharing it in such a way that for Clubhouse, it really does make sense. And so let me share my screen and see if we can do this without causing too much mayhem. All right. So, and Lucas, are we seeing the screen with the 2x2?
Not on Clubhouse. There's no video. There's no
Yeah.
visuals here.
Oh.
Yeah, but we can see that.
Oh, Jorge, I should have asked you, Jorge. Got it. Can you see that? Okay. So what's interesting is the way I think about it in the 2x2 is being a successful servant leader is one of the two, and the other is communicating and living your purpose. Right. And I can't tell you that the definition of being a successful servant leader, I believe that means that you're living your purpose and you're getting paid for it. So what's interesting about the quadrant in the upper left-hand side is you're not quite living a successful servant leadership life because you're not getting paid for the services you're doing. However, you are truly communicating and living your purpose. And I'm going to come back for the person asking the question. I'm going to come back to that. If you are not, once again, you're not necessarily a successful servant leader, but this case is not because of money. It's because you are selling a dream. You are not living your purpose. It's those people who are selling hope. They don't have a real product. They promise you something that's so out of the moon. What was it? Oh yeah, I got one this morning. Companies selling gallons of gasoline at a cheaper price, but they needed my bank account so that we can make money together. And he was going to be kind enough to give me 60%, right? Selling a dream, selling hope.
You can deposit money in my account.
I'm sure I could. So on the living on autopilot are for those people who are making a ton of money. They were at some point in time being very successful as a servant leader, but they no longer are living their purpose. And for me, by the way, that my CPOP, the way Lucas introduced himself, is the types of clients that are attracted to me are leaders living their values and making a difference. And at some point in time, if you're no longer feeling like you're living your values and you're not making the difference you need to make, that's a good prospect for me. And where we want to get to is the upper right-hand quadrant, where we are a successful servant leader and we are living and communicating our purpose. And when we do that, we become a magnet. We become a magnet for people to attract to us. So I said I'd come back. I'll share one last thing. I said I'd come back to those people who are credibly living their life, but they may not be they may not be actually making the money that they want to make. Does that make you less credible? Absolutely not. Right? Just to be clear, it doesn't make you less credible. Money is not necessarily the distinction of whether or not you're credible. It's not any of the core values. That said, you do need money to live. You need money to survive. You need to find a financial sponsor in some particular way so that your bills are covered. So you can do that. And the best way you could cover your bills is if it turns out the financial sponsors happen to be clients taking advantage of and loving what you do, that makes sense. In other cases, it may be other things, right? Sometimes we take a 9-to-5 working for somebody else so that we can have a financial sponsor to allow us to do what we really love doing in terms of our servant leadership, the purpose we have in life. And that purpose we have in life and what we do, we haven't figured out how to truly monetize it yet. So we get monetization elsewhere. And I'm hoping that that makes sense for those people for those that ask the question. Hey, Joe, you live in a world that so overlaps with what I just said. I'd love to hear your feedback.
You know, I really do love the question about whether or not you're credible if your business isn't making money, but I think it's being looked at in the wrong way, right? Like you're talking about, like if you're doing it because it's something that you love and you know that you can help people and that in time the revenue will come, then you're absolutely credible. Now, at the same time, if you've been doing it for 3, 4, 5 years and you're still not making any money, maybe you need to shift your perspective as to how you can help other people.
What do you recommend?
That's the purpose of any product, isn't it?
Yeah. What do
people solve problems?
Yeah. What do you recommend on that? What are ways for people to be thinking about that?
Well, that's the thing that I was refer as a pivot. Is you start trying to do something, you figure out if you try to help people, but if the people do not adopt that and you don't make a viable way to go, because maybe is the people is interested but not willing to pay, but there are sponsors that are willing to pay. In that sense, you start finding the way to go. But that is how you build a business model for that, and that is direct to indirect. But anyway, you need to have a metric of success in the sense that it's a combination. The effort that you put to do things need to be rewarded, compensated in some way, directly by the person that is receiving the information, or by some sponsors or indirect people that wants to support that through some donations or another way of incentives.
You know, one of the other things that you might want to think about too in that situation is not just like sometimes we always just go like, oh, maybe I'm charging too much for what I'm trying to do, and maybe it's the exact opposite. Maybe I'm not charging enough for people to take me seriously. And you really have to take that hard look at it, make the decisions from there. But sometimes it is the opposite of maybe I need to charge more for what I'm doing because the impact I can have on them is so much more.
Agreed. Yes. Hey, Arthur Keller, I'm going to promote you to your profile's not filled out, so my moderators weren't getting very excited about adding you. But Arthur Keller, dude, I've known you for 25 years. You were clearly very credible. I'm going to add you to the thing. Allison, great to see you. If you were interested in being a speaker, let us know. Same thing for you in the room, Jeannie, Lamis. If you feel like your profile's filled out, Allison got it. I'll add you to speaker. Arthur Keller, are you around to say hello?
Yes, I am around. Yes, I am.
Oh, sir. Hey, would you like to just do a quick who you are? Lucas and I were able to do it in our 3 seconds, so your CPOP could be pretty cool. And then, and if you have a contribution to this particular question, this comment.
Well, I'm trying to get my profile picture. I think I got one, but I'd like to get it a little bigger. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. But my CPOP, I have 2 of them for 2 different businesses. My CPOP is lawyers, giving lawyers my Pat Truth.
Pat
The second one
and Truth,
is,
yeah.
Is advising startups. I don't remember the second one, but it was advising startups credibly.
Yeah. Yeah. I've known Arthur for, God, close to the beginning of the .com days. He's had a really amazingly cool life. And another person, Jorge, if you and Arthur don't know each other, since you're both in Silicon Valley, it's worthwhile for you guys to connect as well. And Arthur was in one of our last boot camps. Oh, that's probably the URL we should share because we've got the Ultimate Credibility Boot Camp coming up. So that would be that's probably the URL we should put on Clubhouse. And Arthur, what do you think about, can you be credible and not make money, but you're doing what you love?
People who are retired are credible, don't make money.
Well, not necessarily everyone who's retired is credible, but yes.
And some of them make money.
And some of them make money.
But what's interesting is that if you're retired, by definition, you don't make money, but you can have money that makes money.
That's a great, I want to switch the topic. You inspired me. I will never be retired. As a matter of fact, I think it's part of the falsehood of a life called work-life balance. We're conditioned to think of this thing called work, and we work for somebody else for X many years, and then we retire and enjoy our lives. And work is a 4-letter word, and many people treat it as a 4-letter word. And what I want to say is, if you love what you do, you're never working. I'm not convinced I've worked since 1997 when I became an entrepreneur. Although my family thinks I work, I love what I do. As long as I could add value to the world, I'm going to continue to, in many people's words, it's called work, but I'm going to continue to live and add value to the world. One of the core values of being credible is being a servant leader to others. And as long as I'm of service to others, I will be.
Well, I agree with you, but I think that what one does is, I first of all, I certainly advise, I serve on boards of nonprofits, by nonprofits that I don't get paid because I'm on a nonprofit board. But my mix of what I do will vary based on how much money I need or how much money I get.
Hey, Allison, welcome. Nice to see you. Do you want to introduce yourself and share your thoughts on this concept of retirement?
Sure, yeah. I'm just joining the conversation. My name is Allison Franz. I am a business and mindset coach. I specialize in helping people to sell high-ticket sales, service-based businesses that I work with primarily, and I'm in Orlando, Florida. So, yeah, I'm happy to join this conversation. What is the specific question here?
It was at this stage because of what Arthur said. Arthur said this after you joined. So I switched the conversation, focusing on the construct of being retired. Like Lucas and I both agreed you could be retired and make money, but to me, I don't even like the concept of retiring. So can you live your life credibly and enjoy what you do and not necessarily reach the stage of retirement unless you want to? I was just trying to figure out this work-life balance thing is throwing me off. And I'd like to throw that out entirely.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Like, I know several professionals in their 80s who are still working. Maybe not completely full-time. They probably work a little less than they used to, but I know several people who are successful professionals, business owners in their 80s who still work, 10, 20, or 30 hours a week. I don't think that's unheard of, and I think it's because they enjoy their work. I think when you feel passionate about what you do and you really love what you do, your work just becomes a part of you. You know, it's like your passion becomes a part of your identity. And why would you want to give that up, right? If you feel truly connected to what you're doing, I don't think it makes a heck of a lot of difference. I don't think you're going to look forward to retirement, right? Like, I think retirement is really for the employee. I mean, unless you're just not passionate about what you do, I think that retirement is for people who just don't fully have their heart in what they're doing. And it's part of that old model of, you know, you get a job and you work there for years and years and years, and then, you know, they'll give you a nice little retirement, and then you can finally do what you want after you retire, right? That's why people look forward to retirement. But if you're already doing what you love doing, you don't really have a need to retire. That's my personal viewpoint. Allison, I'm finished speaking.
Allison, I thank you for that. That was a mic drop. I'm going to in Cupertino, Silicon Valley, where I live. There's a flea market that happens once a month on Saturday, and we have not gone for the entire focus of COVID. And right after I close this room, my wife, she schedules time on my calendar. My wife said, "Can we go to the flea market?" I'm going to see if I could find a mic, because that would be one of those things where I'd hold a mic in my hand and I'd let it drop. I think I had a conversation with Ron this week and I had 3 mic drops. So, you know, it's the coolest thing in the world when somebody says something and it's so reinforcing. Who would like to comment on what Allison said? Is there somebody in the room that has a strong opinion?
I would. This is Adrian Barker. And hi, Allison. I'm in Daytona Beach, so we're very close. And I lived in Celebration for 6 years and a graduate of Leadership Orlando, which I love the program. So I hear what Allison said, but funny enough, I see it differently. And that's probably because I'm very active with SCORE. So I am the co-chair here for Volusia Flatler of SCORE. And it's quite different because many of our SCORE mentors are both business owners and have worked for someone else and are enjoying having clients and helping those clients, whatever that specialty is that they have learned throughout their lives. And of course, we never charge for SCORE. And so when you are, like for me, being that strong into SCORE, I've been a mentor for 5 years. I've been the VP of marketing for Southern Arizona. I'm very active. I see a completely different perspective, but I get that because this is what I see every day. And if it's okay, Mitchell, while I have the mic, I wanted to say servant leadership, you know, it's very interesting. And we kind of throw around the word a little bit. I actually didn't even know that I was a servant leader until one day I had hired an art director, and I was telling another employee that her and I would really be, it's exciting because we're going to help lift him up, but we're going to get him to a point where, you know, he has a career ahead of him, whether he works for us or not. And she stopped me and she said, "What, are you crazy? Why would I do that?" And so I didn't understand. And so I talked to a few people, and I actually got some help from a mindset coach who, in looking at my past and my life, realized that has always been a blessing and a curse. Because being a servant leader means you care really about people more than profits. And when you live in a family business, that may not be the best value. And I couldn't understand growing up why I always wanted to make sure our staff had the best education, and I just wanted to make sure that they had the training, and if they were a national sales account, then we helped them to stay in that level. And I always had in the back of my mind that I wanted that employee to be successful when they leave our business, and not just because I thought they would leave, but that's how my brain worked. My parents didn't get it, my siblings didn't get it. I didn't understand it until I really learned. So I just want to make sure that also, you know, I've done classes before. Really, what is a servant leader? What does that look like? So that's it. I'm Adrian, and I am out.
Thank you, Adrian. How did that I was going to say, who got inspired from that? I heard a side. That's Jorge. Okay.
Yeah. It's something I go to the Allison point of view in the sense of retirement, because that's a subject that has been getting involved lately in how you want to retire and how you want to live the rest of your life. And the point here is quite interesting. First and all, to analyze. She was talking about people that get a job and people that we, like you, Mitchell, and I don't know who else here in the group, we are entrepreneurs, we are self-driven people, and we want to have some way that you manage to get enough resources to keep the life going, and then you have enough energy to keep doing the things that you like it. And that is maybe for me the definition of retirement. When you reach the economic independence enough to keep going without worry, to have income, and that match very well with the credibility question that you launched early today, because in some way is you want to do the things that you really like it, and the point is doing things that you like it is fantastic, and how that things, when you learn how to manage them, they start to create more income to improve the way of life. And that is one of the difference, because when you are a retired people, you have usually a fixed amount of money and you save for your life, the 401k, your investments, or all the things that you wanted, and that provides you the long-term way of living. But in the sense of entrepreneurship, or in the sense of self-driven people, is you retire at the same time that you start doing other things that happens to be that create some income, additional income in a given time. I don't know if I make it that very complex, but I would like to get a feedback about this point of view.
Ron, I saw some really cool conversations in the Clubhouse chat, and there were a couple of comments on LinkedIn. Would you like to comment on what Jorge just said? Oh, yeah. You'll have to unmute yourself somewhere.
You know what? I don't think it needs any enhancement. I think Jorge did a fabulous job.
By the way, thank you. I was kind of thinking that myself. Now, Lucas could always find something to say with what someone says. Lucas, did you want to add to that or subtract? Sorry, I didn't mean it that way. He's being quiet. Okay.
You see, Jorge left us all speechless.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, pretty much. Jorge, it's really interesting to me. I have a world. I'm not 100% in. There's an assumption that you work for somebody else and you don't like what you do, and you work for yourself and you do. And once again, that's not really a valid assumption. You know, there are people in the world who really would like some of the rules, some of the characteristics. They want the playground they play in to be defined by somebody else. And that's perfectly fine. And what I'd encourage you, if you work for other people, is find the type of boss, find the type of mentor. By the way, it'd be great if they're the same. And you should have multiple mentors that will allow you to craft who you are in the playground that they define for you, if that's what you want. What often happens with entrepreneurs is they get frustrated with the playground. they get frustrated with the rules that somebody else has defined for them. And that's what I think, that's what I was getting at with this bigger concept of the work-life balance. Is the rules are this 4-letter word called work, and you have to do work and make money, and then, but you don't have to, you can't have fun while you're living life. And I think Michael talked about the millennial side of the world is they, a lot of the younger generation, they want to make money, but they value their time more than making money. right? And it's a really interesting thought process. And what they do with their time, they will work for what they need to work so they can do what they need to do. That feeds their soul. Whether sometimes that's 100% play or whether or not that's of complete servant leadership to others. And so I kind of believe it's the job of anyone who employs other people to allow those people that are working for them to be able to feed their soul in what they do. And this way they are entrepreneurs inside the company. I got head shakes from Ron.
So it's interesting. The other day I was talking to this organizational psychologist. He was talking about some tools by which to have a great conversation with your employees so you can understand the desires of their heart, right? Because his hypothesis was if you understood the desires of their heart, you'd be better able to get them engaged with your business, and you'd be engaged with their life. So it's a transaction of value, right? And I was thinking of that, desires of the heart, if you will. And we keep using, of course, millennials, who they're our favorite punching bag all the time. But the point is, whether you call them by a name or not, they're still on the same journey we've all been in, which is to find why we're here. And that's our identity. They're trying to find why they're here. Now, they may work to go snowboarding on a weekend, but they're still on the same journey as all of us, trying to find out who I am. It's the great existential question. Now, if the owner of a business is conscious of that and comes alongside that, they're going to have a better opportunity to get a engaged person in their company. But we don't do that kind of spade work. We don't think we have enough time to do it.
It's quite interesting because it's in the point that you say, Mitchell, that the employer should allow the people to help the employee to fulfill their interests. That's a very complex combination that Ron was addressing in some way. Is you have a job, you need to fulfill the goals of the job. And the best example is the thing that, for instance, 3M and Google has done for some time, that say, we allow the people to ask for 20% of their time to do something else outside of the day-to-day activity. And that's tremendous value. But when you do that, financially speaking, for the company, has a tremendous impact, because you need to design a company that works with the 80% of the capability to provide the goals that you wanted. And the 20% extra is a long-term kind of things that it may succeed or not. If they succeed, as is in the case of 3M and Google, that they do very well, is they generate new products, and that new product generate new revenue, and that new revenue generate more wealth, and the companies build a very valuable synergy. That, when you design your life in that way, is amazing. But the very first thing is a discipline that you need to realize and say, okay, I will allocate 80%, because usually we allocate the 100%, we take the 120%, and we don't have time even to think what we want to do. And that discipline is a leadership and is part of the credibility. How you build that capability is a real challenge to address. I am done. I think that's it.
You said something really interesting too, Jorge.
Not just one thing, but okay, got it. Okay, Ron, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to the rules around.
No. I don't mind.
If I raised my hand, is that what I did?
No, you did great. I'm glad you jumped in. I just wanted to say, you said Jorge, you said one thing interesting, and I just said, well, more than one thing, or not just one thing. But please keep going, Ron.
Well, because I was going to riff off one of those things. That's okay. I totally get it. So Jorge, you basically deployed a tool called the playground. You called it the 20%, but a playground. And if we think about the habits we're trying to build within our corporate cultures, what we're trying to do is create tools to turn on the innovation gene, to turn on the caring gene, otherwise known as engagement, and align those collectively in a directional arrow toward the mission and vision of our company, right? And if you can create that through any tool, you mentioned a few of them, but if you can do that, oh my gosh, it's a force multiplier, if you will, in your business. So I just loved your playground analogy.
I love it. So yeah,
Mitchell, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you, Joe? Why don't you jump in and we're close to the hour type thing, and so I wouldn't mind if you jumped in, added your thoughts, and then do a break and just say, hey, what do you think of the conversation, and do a wrap up, and we'll let everyone who's a speaker do a wrap up.
Oh, wonderful. So I wanted to jump in. Well, one, being a millennial, and more often than not, most people don't think of millennials as being 40, right? But we are. And we're also one of the highest level entrepreneurs in the country because of the fact that what you were talking about is we do work because we want to be able to live the life we want to live. And, when everyone was talking about retirement earlier, I just want to say, I consider myself retired and have considered myself retired for the last 4 years when I started as an entrepreneur. For me, this is retirement. Doing something this big, being able to serve people, create jobs for people, help their families, and help families of my clients as well. I'll do that for the rest of my life. That'll never stop. There'll never be a day where that's done until I'm done.
Joe, I love that. Hey, how would you like to wrap up? That was freaking awesome, by the way. Another mic drop.
Well, I was just going to say, thank you, Mitchell, for putting on this clubhouse room, giving us all a chance to have a mic and a stage, a place to share our thoughts and wisdom. And I absolutely love all of the things that have been shared today, the different perspectives from everybody. And the amount of credibility in this room is amazing. So thank you for allowing me to be here and speak.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm so glad to have you here. If you're interested, for anyone who's here or listening at this stage, reach out, come up and do us live on video. And we do this every Saturday, same time. And Joe, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
I'm seeing what's on top, and Dr. Laura, you're on the top for me. Would you like to share?
If it lets me, I keep getting kicked out and all that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, this is badass. I love this. Oh, and you know what? Badass, Ray, that's not a scientific tool. That's a Lauraism, and you can quote me. I couldn't come up with that. Oh, and the other thing is, so these are just, I love creating just rhetorical questions and things that make you go, and then maybe you'll have an aha, that is the deal, if that resonates with you, Mitchell. That the thing about it is that if we keep doing what we did and we get what we got, does that mean we have integrity and that we're working from a place and we're credible? All I know for sure is that sometimes the things that I do, they're credible for me and I have integrity, and sometimes other people don't understand it. That's not my problem. Unless it's not hurting anybody, then it's a problem. If someone's got a problem with it, then who's got the problem? And in my heart of hearts, knowing that I show up and I support and I respect and I hold up as a leader, my job is not to be in charge. My job is to help identify and lift up the potentials and the possibilities for others and myself as well to to save space, to create that safe space, because there's no leader without creativity. There's no vulnerability without innovation and teamwork and showing up and taking that risk that you're going to have someone who's going to not agree, and that's okay. And that with that disagreement, maybe we actually find out that the world is not flat. And curiosity, that's where innovation and change takes place. And there's when a lot of leaders, when they are discredited. Leaders doesn't necessarily always have all the money and all the wealth and the power and the prestige. Sometimes the leaders in the corner saying, not today, we're not doing this again today. And they stand up for those who are also in the corner and say, me too. So I'm happy to be here. I hope that made sense. This is Dr. Laura.
Dr. Laura, I'm just going to say I love you. Thank you. That was beautiful. Wow. Yeah.
Can I wrap up my point?
Yes, sir.
I want to propose you a challenge for you and to all the team, because we came with several ideas, and I really would like to see is, first of all, get a commitment that everybody of us, we're going to watch again this video or this audio and find out what are the key points or the key ideas that we have been talking about. Because the retirement and the subject of being an entrepreneur and the subject of how to manage credibility, all them are all together linked, but has been completely interlaced, not necessarily in a straightforward, and that's maybe very hard to have it that in a straightforward. And have a second conversation about that, whatever time. Next week I can't. Next week I will be on vacation and hiding away. But in 2 weeks, if you want to do that, I will be very much happy to do that, to participate in that, and try to figure out if we put a subject and prepare some 3 goals, how to find the best way to get that credibility to achieve the freedom and generate the life that we wanted, or something like that. I am just brainstorming right now. But the point that has been touched is so powerful and so much important that you recall that I talk about a concept of the information diet. That's my information diet. I really would like to deep into these subjects.
I thank you. Oh, Karen Parkins, thanks for saying I love you. I love you too, man. Thank you for coming and watching and listening. And I miss our calls. And Jorge, wow, that was, yeah, I love that. It's a construct that Lucas and I have been focused on as part of now the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp is, and this last time we did it, it really was focused on how can you be you and be credible while you're being of service to others and make money for those that need to make it. I just crazy. I'll add a couple things to that because we're here. And then Ron, I'd love you to read what you wrote in the chat regarding retirement, which was great. I want to say a couple people who came on, and we still have a couple more people who were summarized. One was Arthur, who shared his CPOP. CPOP stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. It is one of those things that I do enjoy allowing people to have. It's articulating who you are and how you serve in 10 words or less. And somebody, April, nice to see you. And somebody actually said something to me this week, Elaine Starling. And I'm a big fan of spreading cred dust, so sharing the ideas, thoughts, and opinions of others. And she said, Mitchell, I love what you've been doing. I love the CPOP, and you've been talking about the what and not the why. And I go, huh? And she goes, let me tell you the why of the CPOP. CPOP, once again, Customer Point of Possibilities. It is your compass. It is the compass that lets you make better decisions, live and demonstrate better behavior. And here's what Elaine said, which for the rest of my life I will remember and use. She says that your CPOP gives you the clarity and confidence to be consistently credible in every situation. And I'm like, wow. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that in the chats before we go. And the cool part is everyone in the world can contribute, right? You can contribute to others. Part of contribution is just listening sometimes and saying, hey, that was a good point. I saw in the chat that Lucas sent to Dr. Laura after she was talking, hey, that was a mic drop. And that's what a contribution is. And the question in this fast-paced world is, how do we find the people we want to play with? How do we find the people we want to do business with? How do we find the people that we want to surround ourselves with? So come back into this room and also focus on that thing, that playground you play in. That's the one that's fun, the one that other people want to join and play with you, and create your CPOP so you can have the clarity and confidence to be consistently credible in every situation. Thank you, Elaine Starling. Let's see. Who hasn't? Ron, did you do a summary? You haven't done a summary for today.
What would you like out of a summary, Mitchell, that you haven't already done?
Why don't you read what you wrote in the chat about the definition of retirement?
Oh, words are real things to me.
And then don't read it, just say it. Say it with feeling.
No, I can look you straight in the eye. I mean, retire as a word means basically ceasing to work, obviously. So that suggests that there's a time in our lives we no longer think we need to labor at anything. So, and then the other definition of retire is withdrawal. So this idea of stopping or withdrawing from life, I mean, where did we ennobilize that word? It's just crazy, isn't it? It's just not appealing. So that's what I meant.
I love that. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Let's see. Arthur, did you want to wrap up for us?
Yes, I was tired tomorrow, but I was tired today. I'll be tired again tomorrow. That's retired. Anyway, I'd like to give a statement, a testimonial for the global for Mitch Levy and his credibility course. After taking it, I have a new start of advising, and I went on several interviews for expert witness gigs, and more than I have in the last 2 years. So that's important, and that's because of Mitchell gave me the courage to do that. Thank you.
Oh, I wasn't leaving you to the end so you could really drop the mic, but thank you. That was pretty awesome. I'm really happy for you. Are we good? Does anyone else have something else to share at the end? I think we've got everyone, unless I missed it accidentally. All right. Thanks. If you're on Clubhouse, if I could see you physically, you could raise your hand. If you're in Clubhouse, just have your mic go in and out a couple of times, and I'll see that you want to share. April, I'm glad you could come and visit. I know you were watching on, and Jenny, I'm glad you're in the room too. Next time, if you want to share, feel free just to let me know, and we'll bring you on stage. And always happy to see you, to see people live. What I want to say is I'm loving the room, and I'm loving the opportunity for us to really show up as ourselves. And I think this is who we should be. And I appreciate the contributions today. I'm going to say, for those who do celebrate the 4th of July, have a great extended weekend, and take in your heart the love that you felt in this room. And I feel it. I felt it for most of the room. If it's got a good feeling for it. And what I'm going to say is take that love and bring it into other things you do. it just makes, you've got this safe, clean, cool environment. It just makes everything you do that much more fun. So I'm going to say, hey, thank you so much. Hope to see you next week. Have a safe, fun, and if you're traveling, productive set of travels. You guys are spectacular. Thanks for joining me today. I love you. See ya.